Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via Facebook streaming, via YouTube streaming, and also via Skype online. Each one of you is welcomed to this live streaming, almost coming to the end of the holy month of Ramadan. I will speak a little bit on the life of Naqshbandi Sheikh Omkar Nath, whose anniversary of final merging into the ocean of bliss falls on 20th of May. It was on 20th May 2008 he entered into Samadhi. He belongs to the Naqshbandi golden chain of Sufi masters from Naqshbandiya, Mujaddadiya, Majhariya wa Ramchandriya Tariqat. He is the eldest son of Naqshbandi Sheikh Brij Mohan Lal. Born on the 9th day of winter Navratri, that is the Hindu festival of 9 days devoted to goddess, in the year 1933. At the time when his father, the Sheikh Brij Mohan Lal, entered into Samadhi, he was mere 17 years of age. The responsibility of carrying the mantle of the Naqshbandi Tariqat fell on his shoulders. As time went on, his grace, his energy field enhanced tremendously. It was the concert, the wife of Sheikh Brij Mohan Lal, Shakuntala Devi, who nourished and nurtured the garden which was planted by Sheikh Brij Mohan Lal, and in fact she is the one who prepared everyone remaining unknown in the field, prepared Sheikh Omkar Nath, his younger brother Devendra Nath, and thereafter he handed over under the benign care of Sheikh Omkar Nath. On the day when a particular Sheikh enters into the physical form, it is the cosmic energy that is assuming the physical form for the continuation of the work of transformation of human consciousness. It is a moment of great joy, celebration and benediction. And when he enters at the end of journey back into the existence, again it is a moment of great joy that he has entered back into the existence, having completed the responsibilities that have been given to him. It is a matter of great joy. Whenever these days fall, we have to remember and reflect on the life and the works. In this light, continuation of the awakening of kundalini, I will use the other technique. The first I had told you, using the deep breathing. What does the kundalini can be understood in two layers, the physiological and psychological. Physiological layer is hammered by deep breathing, in which your solar plexus gets relaxed because it is the center through which you are connected to mother's womb, and it is through the cosmic, it is through this that once again you are connected to the cosmic womb for the continuation of the inward journey. The two aspects are important. Raman emphasized on the psychological aspects, and others, they emphasize on the physiological aspects. But complete awakening depends on the two factors, because the psychological and physiological are not separate from one another. They are connected deeply into one another. How does this chant, "Who am I?" works on kundalini? Let us understand this first. Do you know, when you close your eyes and make a mental image of a man or a woman in nude, your sex center is immediately stimulated. You are just imagining, and yet sex has been aroused. Why does it happen? In fact, every center has its own imagination. If you imagine something, approximating it, the center concerned will be stimulated instantly. So no sooner you think and imagine sex center starts working, you are sexually aroused. I have worked during the process with many, both male and female, who were married and engaged in the relationship, but the energy could not move beyond the sex center. This is what normally happens with the people. Having a physical relationship does not mean that you have understood the movement of this energy is a totally different phenomenon. And you will be surprised to know that in this matter, a real nude woman or man may not be as exciting and effective as the thought of nudeness that you nourish psychologically. The reason is that the thought of nakedness takes you into your imagination, and this imagination starts hitting the sex center immediately, powerfully, and from within. But a really nude person cannot take you into imagination. The person is already standing, because the person is directly before you, so immediately and close. So this will affect you only to an extent an immediate object can, while the real woman hits you differently. Frontally she hits you. An imaginary woman, that means outward. And when you imagine, it hits you from within. And the frontal attack cannot be as strong as and deep as the attack from within. Therefore, many men and women who prove impotent before real women, but who are very potent in their imagination, and there is no end to any imaginary potency or strength of an individual. So when you ask this question, who am I? You are just making an inquiry. You are mentally raising a question. So which center usually hits you touch when you ask this question? Which center is this question going to touch? Who am I? It is bound to touch the center it is bound to touch a center. When you ask this question or inquire who you are, when you are full with thirst to know who am I, when every fiber in you asks this question, who am I? Then you go within. Then you are going within, and surely some center in you is going to be hit and activated by it. Because who am I is a question that has never been asked. It is not going to strike any of your known centers. This question you have never asked yourself. This is an inquiry you have never made. You have never been filled with the thirst to know who you are. Even if you had tried or explained to someone who you are, your acquaintance has been very superficial. I am Mr. X. I am this, I am that. But the question has never gone deeper in you. There has never been thirst in you to know who you are. You have often asked, who is he? who is she? And the question like these, but you have never asked, who am I? Who am I has been an unasked question for long. And therefore it is going to, so when you ask this question, it is going to hit an unknown center which you have never touched. You are familiar with the most commonly known center or activated center in an individual is the sex center. Who am I is going to hit this is a very basic question. This question itself is very basic. Who am I is a fundamental question, and it is existential one as well. Who am I is a question which involves the totality of your existence in depths and height. This question will take you where you were before you was born, behind all your past lives. It can take you where you were in primeval beginning. The profoundness of this question is infinite, and so is the journey that begins with it is profound. Therefore, the question will immediately strike the basic center, the deepest one, the kundalini. Deep breathing strikes the center physiologically, and the question, who am I, strikes the center mentally or psychologically. The question hammers the kundalini with mind energy, and deep breathing hammers it with body energy. And if both hammer simultaneously, and if both strike simultaneously, then the effect will be tremendous. If both hammer strokes are very strong, ordinarily there are only two ways of hammering the center, one through breathing, the other through asking the question, who am I? And these two do not go simultaneously. The most common question, the most common technique used is deep breathing. There are other ways also. If the presence of another person in whom this center is open can be of great help to you, the effect will be quicker and greater, because then there will be hammering from a third direction as well. His presence becomes a hammering. You have no idea. But the hammering that happens from the third direction, it is the astral direction whose hammering, and this hammering from the third direction, the astral, is subtler and is stronger than the physiological and psychological, the physical and the mental hammering. When you breathe intensely, it hammers the center physically. You use to hammer the solar plexus, in this matter, creating the sound of who. You can raise your hands and create the sound who. The hammer happens, the hammering happens on the solar plexus. The center which has been inactive begins to be active. This is consciously getting active, because it is said that the phrase that is used, I cannot stomach anymore. So all the past lives, memories of this life, and through the various stages that you have passed through, are stored in this center. By hammering it, you are making it active, and it is the cleaning of this center as well. So when it is cleaned, the channel is cleared, the energy begins to gush out of the center and tries to reach the other centers. And when you ask the question, who am I? It does the same thing mentally. And when you do it in the presence of another person through whom your astral body is hammered, then a third journey begins. So if there are a number of people who are meditating together, the effect will be more intense than you were doing individually. Because the longing of 50 persons combined with the vibration of their intense breathing, an astral atmosphere is created and pervades the room, and a new kind of electrical light wave will begin to circulate around, and it will hit you from another direction. Because it is the aspiration of all the people who are gathered together and who are doing, it is more intense, it gets stronger, and electrical waves surround from all around and begins to hit from another direction. But normally you have only two ways, the physical and the mental. So who am I is going to hit harder than the breath. It will hit harder than the deep breathing. But we start with breathing because it is the function of the body and very basic to do. Asking who am I is somewhat difficult because it is of the mind. We begin with body, and when body begins to vibrate fully, it prepares the mind to ask the question, who am I? A right situation is needed for this asking to begin. It won't do any good if you ask offhand, who am I? The breathing has to be intense, and at the moment of intense breathing, all of a sudden the question arises, who am I? I am not doing this, then who is doing this? It won't be good to ask the question offhand, who am I, anytime and every time. In fact, every question needs a right situation when it can be asked. You do not know the situation and you keep on asking the question, and wonder why the Master is not answering this question. For example, when your body begins to shake and tremble, a question arises automatically, and you ask yourself, what is this all about? How am I doing all this? And then you know you are not doing anything. Many people shake. The body begins to vibrate. They consider it as a disease. That is the moment. A little bit of awareness at that moment. And if there is guidance, ask this question, who am I? I am not doing this vibration, I am not doing this shaking. Who is doing this? Is a ghost in you doing it? Or some evil spirit is doing in you? What is it all about? How am I doing all this? And then you know that you are not doing anything. You are neither raising your feet, not turning your head, or dancing, yet dance is happening. And if this happens without your effort, your identity with the body begins to lose. Then a question must arise before you. You want to know who you are for the first time. Many times you reach to this threshold, and considering this a physical ailment at the level of the body, this shaking, this vibration, that is the moment when you need to ask this question. The new question is that the body does what the body does is not your doing. Then who does it? Who are you? Now a gap is created between you and your body. This is the right situation, and it is through this gap the question should arise, who am I? And it will sink deep in you. It is precisely this opportunity when it becomes necessary to ask, to inquire this question, who am I? Each question has its time to inquire, right time, right season. And it is very important to find out the right reason for this question, who am I? It is not a question to be asked in an offhanded manner. It cannot be asked any time without a due preparation. If sitting here you ask casually, who am I? It will be lost in the air. It will not reach anywhere. A gap, an opening in you is necessary from where the question can penetrate you. An opening is a must. When the hammer strokes of these two, deep breathing and who am I, the kundalini awakens. And with this awakening, extraordinary experiences begin to happen. because all the experiences of your past lives are associated with this energy kundalini. In a way, they are deposited there. Your experiences of infinite lives, including your lives as trees, as fish, as bird, the experiences that you went through in the entire course of your evolution are lying strewn on your journey's path, and this serpentine power known as kundalini has absorbed them all. Therefore, many kinds of things can happen, and you can identify yourself with these experiences. Any kind of thing, unthinkable thing can happen. You have no idea of many subtle experiences with which kundalini is associated. Many subtle experiences. When you are doing it in presence of a person who is awakened, you are hit on a third point as well. For instance, there is a tree in the garden, and a strong wind and heavy rain have just swept across the garden. The way this tree has experienced and known the wind and the rains is exclusively its own. Neither we nor anyone else knows it. The way the tree has known the rain, we can never know. How can we know it? It is impossible. Even if we were standing near the tree or near the person to whom it is happening, you cannot experience it the way it happened to the tree or the way it happened to the other person. We can know only the way we are capable of knowing it. That's why things like these becomes difficult for people to understand. But at some stage in the course of your life's journey, you must have been a tree as well. Now, if the kundalini, as you are breathing and asking the question, who am I, reaches the spot where the experience as a tree has deposited, you will suddenly come to know what exactly this tree had known when it was raining and the wind swept through it. You will really know that it is raining. And then you will be frightened, very much frightened, and you will wonder what is this all about. And only then you will understand why sometimes you feel like an ocean and sometimes like the winds, and you will go through the same experience as the ocean and winds do. And as a result of your aesthetic capacity and many other capabilities of which you have no idea whatsoever, will begin to unfold themselves. Never consider these as ailments. No psychology can explain this. There is a painting of Dutch painter Vincent van Gogh in which trees are extremely tall, is reaching to the skies. The tree is growing so high that it has left the stars, including the sun and the moon, far behind, much below. The stars, the sun, the moon, all of them look like tiny objects lurking at the foot of the tree near the earth, while the solitary tree is raising higher and higher into infinity. Someone asked Vincent van Gogh, "You are crazy to paint a tree like this. Can a tree grow so high that the stars lie below it?" Van Gogh said, "Perhaps you have never known a tree. You have never seen the inside of a tree, but I know the tree from inside out. I know it in its depth. It is immaterial if it cannot go beyond the moon, the sun and the stars of heaven. But all the same, there is no doubt whatsoever that every tree longs to do so, go beyond. So too, every individual wants to go beyond all these experiences. It is irrelevant that the tree cannot surpass them. All the same, there is a tremendous thirst, a longing for the immense. It is true. I cannot even think of it. It is the limitation that the tree cannot grow that high. But I know the spirit of the tree, its being. It always soaring higher and higher to reach the highest heavens, and it is reaching the higher heavens. It is the aspiration. I know it is in the spirit of the trees, its being. It is in the spirit of every single individual to reach to the highest. And when these things begin to happen, we consider it a problem. Van Gogh said the tree is, what is tree? Van Gogh said tree is earth's longing to reach to the heavens. The earth cannot reach to the heavens, so it produces the tree on the surface of it, and the tree is longing to reach to the heavens. So tree is the longing of the earth to reach to the heavens. Tree is really earth's desire. Through it, the earth is stretching its hands to touch the heavens. This is what happens in each one of you. Through the kundalini, we know the rain the way the tree knows it, even though we will not know it so clearly as the tree does. But of course, we have been trees many times before, and so anything can happen in meditation. Apart from this, you will begin to have glimpses of your own future possibilities. You will not only know that you have been in the past, you will also come to know that you can be in the future. And after you have entered the path of Kundalini, after you have joined its pilgrimage, the journey, your story as an individual comes to an end. And the story of consciousness, the whole consciousness will begin. It is an inquiry. Then it is not the story of an individual. It is the story of the consciousness itself. You are then not alone. You are joined with all infinity that has ever happened in the past, and also with the infinity that will ever happen in future. Then the entire infinity will be within you. It is like a primeval seed that never dies, the eternal seed that goes on unfolding itself, that ceaselessly continues to manifest itself, and there seems to be no end to it. And when you will so in this way see your limitless expense, an expense that is beyond the beginning and without an end, an expense with an infinity behind it, and an infinity in front of it, then your state will be different altogether. Then everything about you will undergo a sea of transformation. Then the whole gamut lies behind this energy that is Kundalini. Many new colors will appear before you that you have never known before it. In fact, you will find that there are many colors on the outside as well as within you. When you come to experience, because in the course of life's infinite journey, you have known these colors from time to time and in a quite different manner. A kite wandering high up in the sky sees the color in one way, and you on the ground see the same color in a quite different way. If you go to a cluster of trees, you will only see one color, the green. But a painter goes to the same cluster of trees and he sees 1,001 kind of colors. Green is not a single color. There are 1,000 hues, shades of it. And Not even shades are same. Each shade is unique. It has its own individuality. To us, green is simply green. There the matter ends. But we have a broad and gross and generalized concept of green color. There is nothing more to it. But in reality, it is quite different from what you have known. Green is not one color. It is really 1,000 colors. And as such, every color has 1,000 colors within. So when you go within yourself, you will go through those sands of very fine, subtle and rare experiences. You will go through the sounds of very fine, subtle and rare experiences. In the matter of sensory perceptions, man is a weak and poor creature. Animals and birds are far superior to him. Sense organs of animals and birds are more powerful and sensitive. Their sensitivity is profound, both in height and depth. And what they lack is that they cannot get to know consciously and think about it. But their sensitivity, their alertness, their experiencing is nonetheless very deep and profound. We will continue on this in tomorrow's session. Sometimes you feel these sessions will come to an end soon, but when actual journey begins, I cannot rush. Allow it to sink in you. Only this much for this morning. Until we meet again, take care and do have a pleasant day. To some of you, I had sent this, a shortened version of this script. Reading it, you do not understand it. When it is being explained, it sinks deep in you. So it needs to be explained again and again. Until tomorrow, take care and do have a pleasant day.